Check the description for the following discount codes. Another hybrid cockpit we're going to be reviewing today, the FGT Elite Lite, which is the slimmed down version of the full fat FGT Elite from Next Level Racing. Essentially, the aluminium profile that's used is simply a bit smaller. As you can see from the picture here, the functionality essentially remains the same as black on black. Not the best web design there, Next Level Racing. Let's go back to the other picture. Yeah, you've got these uprights here and some sliders here that will allow you to move the pedal tray up and down fairly easily, or it should be fairly easily. This edition actually has quite an innovative way to mount a seat. Incidentally, this video could have come out months ago, but I've been waiting on seats to come out. We have the ERS4 seat here today, and I have the ERS5, I think it is, well, through there, that I'll be showing you in another video. But yeah, what they've decided to do here is try and eliminate the flex that is inherent with rake adjustable seats. So the seats themselves have two handles to adjust the upright position. So you've got two mechanisms. That way, each side of the seat locks in position as you adjust it. Instead of your traditional sim racing seats with rake adjustment, they only have the one mechanism and the other side is just free to rotate. So there's nothing actually locking that side in place. We'll see how well that works, of course, later on. It's going to be interesting. You'll sit down and pull two levers like to adjust the seat, which is an interesting way of doing it. So there's that. But they're not, the seat itself is on sliders, but they've also given us, as you can see here, side mount brackets that you would typically find on bucket seat options. Sort of 5mm carbon steel side mount brackets. And the way it works is that you can either bolt the seat down traditionally just to the sliders, or you can, again, this is black on black, a bit irritating. You can actually bolt some aluminium profile to the underneath of the seat onto the sliders. So it would be, you know, a length like this, for example, one front, one rear. And then these, some of these should be pre-drilled, yes, those two there, pre-drilled at the ends here, for me to be able to then bolt them to the side mount option that I just showed you a second ago. I don't know if you'll see in there, but there's a thread inside. So that way, you get to adjust the angle of the seat base using those side mount brackets, whilst retaining the seat sliders functionality to move backwards and forwards, coupled with the rake adjustment on both sides. So this is something new. I haven't seen it before, and it does aim to solve a problem. And whenever you see innovation, it's always good to see it solving a problem. So we should have, and by their own sales spiel, a nice flex-free, because I say in inverted commas, nothing's completely ever flex-free really, experience as far as the seat position goes. There'll be a little bit of movement because the slider mechanism has to have a tolerance, it has to have clearance to be able to move, and the same applies to the rake adjustment. If there isn't lash in the gears, they wouldn't be able to move. So it can never be 100% flex-free in this application, but it should be noticeably better than seats without a dual recliner mechanism. Now, other functions of the cockpit itself, it is a hybrid cockpit, so you can go between Formula and GT, a hybrid position somewhere in the middle, and it lists tank as an option as well, always an amusing one I find. And you can see, on the diagram there how it does it. We've got these two pieces, there's two of these. They are about 5mm thick again, and that's where we're going to get our adjustment for the pedal tray to adjust the angle and the height. The wheel deck is, this is heavy, a nice beefy wheel deck to try and reduce any sort of flex you might get up top. Again, this looks like 5mm carbon steel to me, and we've got, you know, nice 90-degree folds all around the edges to give it added strength and rigidity. The actual pedal tray itself isn't a tray. We have a pair of these, again, heft. This is probably 3mm steel, carbon steel again, and this is what our pedals will bolt into, the slots here, and you'll be able to move this forwards and backwards with your pedals on, in conjunction with a height adjustment. And of course, having this set up means you can mount any pedals you like, whether it's individual pedals or pedals that come, you know, with an integrated base. They will bolt on because you've got width adjustment and forwards and backwards adjustment. Can't really get much better than that. On pieces of profile where it matters, we have, or where it would be helpful, we have little incremental markings to make it easy for us to switch between positions, to make adjustments and have reference points. Otherwise, you might end up with things a little bit on the wonk, which of course is never nice. Again, there's some on this section here, and we've got the FGT Elite logo on the side there as well. So far, so good. As with most profile cockpits, even ones that are using smaller aluminium profiles, so 80/40, I always find that for 95% of sim racers, there's going to be more than enough strength and rigidity in these products. So the top 1% of sim racers that run 30 Nm wheelbases that need the real beefy stuff. So we've just got a couple of bags here with all the nuts and bolts and fittings in, and there's a bag of washers in here, which I always like to see. I really don't like cinching Allen bolts up against the aluminium profile. It just messes it up. And we have a nice little magnetic spirit level. I forgot what it was called. Magnetic spirit level, again, for helping us get everything level and square. You don't want your cockpit, you know, a little bit on the wonk, do you? So we'll have a closer look up at the seat. A look up at the seat. We'll have a closer look at the seat once it's assembled and on the rig. I think that may well be everything, and enough waffling. Oh, here's the instruction manual. We always get a nice quality instruction manual from Next Level Racing. Not only in its physical properties, as in it feels nice, but the instructions themselves. We have lists of all the parts that should be included, and there's actually, you know, QR code link should you want to watch a video. But also the actual instructions themselves, if we just pick a random page, they have really good text accompanying really nice diagrams. GT Amiga, for example, often don't have particularly good text with the pictures that show you how to build the cockpits. Now, for simpler stuff, it's not really a problem, and for me, it's never a problem because I've built loads of them. But having detailed text really just makes things a little bit easier if it's your first time building a cockpit. And as always, when I build these cockpits, I look at the sum of the parts on the floor and I think, oh yeah, it's not that many bits there, it's not going to take that long to put together. The reality is what you see here probably takes 2 or 3 hours to fully assemble following the instructions in the manual there. So that is what I'll get up to next. The price, as you can see here, in case you want to know now, is $5.99 for the cockpit here in the UK. I have a discounted link for USA, but I do not have one for the UK, unfortunately, because they don't ship directly here in the UK. This seat, the ERS4 Elite seat, it's PU-led, polyurethane and suede. That's $299. So the whole cockpit here would be just 900 quid, give or take. And I'm sure it's similar in dollars or euros wherever you are in the world. Anyway, enough of my wafflage. Let's spend a few hours putting this together, and then we'll have a closer look around it once I've done so. that went together really, really easily. Those instructions that I mentioned earlier, having the detailed text accompanying the pictures makes such a difference. Even for someone like me who's built many, many cockpits, I do try and follow the instructions. I also use the included tools every time I do a cockpit build, so I can share that experience accurately with you guys. It would be much easier for me to pull out my own tools and just sort of do things from experience, but it's important for me to be able to say, these instructions are really good, these instructions are not so good, these tools are a bit ropey and chewed up, these ones are really nice quality, so that's why I do it. But yeah, instructions were spot on, went together easily. Like I say, things like having washers for every single bolt where it's going to go onto a metal surface, just to protect it and spread the clamping force, makes such a difference compared to some other manufacturers that just don't. And it was great. Other little details. There's like little, almost like the opposite of Velcro, it's like felt strips that are used in places where you will adjust things. So this wheel deck, for example, has felt strips in between his uprights and the wheel deck here and here. So when you slacken your bolts off to move it up and down, it's not scraping your paint away. It's such a small thing to be able to add in, but it makes such a difference. And the same thing for the way the seat would slide backwards and forwards. In this configuration, so what I'm doing here is I'm using the side mounts onto the alley profile and then onto the seat slider. So the seat will slide backwards and forwards using the grab handle at the front, but you've got your angle adjustment here as well that you wouldn't have if I bolted this straight to the rig, because the install method that I could have used is to not use these side brackets and put this bits of alley profile here straight onto here, in which case there is some felt just underneath here to allow them to slide along there, because there's thumb screws that or thumb handles that you can use to quickly change position. So they've just those little extra details, and a bit like this tool holder that's on the side here, it all just makes for a more polished product. And anything I can see what uses washers or that protects surfaces with felt is just that extra mile. So yeah, really nice and easy to put together. The feet that are on it are height adjustable. You can just wind them up or down. They then have additional rubber inserts as well, should you have it on a hard floor. I've got it on carpet, so I haven't used the rubber inserts, because when I try and slide it, they actually grip the carpet and pop out. They're not in like a negative way, they just pull themselves out because they grip the carpet really well. So for me, during my testing, I've just left it on the plastic. But yeah, rubber there should you have it on a hard floor. So just like the bigger brother, the Lite has been thought out in exactly the same sort of detailed way. And I'm going to grab the camera now and give you a detailed look around it and show you where the adjustments are. And of course, a close-up look at this ERS4 seat as well. Oh, before I do that, talking about attention to detail, just like with all next level racing products, the nuts and bolts come in like a protective oil, which is why this bag is discoloured. Every single bag had a little label on saying exactly what was inside. So just be aware you will get a little bit of oil or grease on your fingers during assembly. And in my case, be careful not to touch anything white in my room or my carpet. Also, cable tidy solutions that I have not attached to the rig, because obviously this isn't a permanent install for me, but here's a good array of cable clips that slot into the profile for you to do some really nice, neat, tidy cable management should you want to. So yeah, those couple of things I just thought were worth a mention. But yeah, let's have a close-up look around now. So the ERS4 seat, as I mentioned earlier, polyurethane and then suede. Although I'm not quite sure. See, this isn't suede. This is it's a very rough, well, not rough, it's a very abrasive material. And this isn't suede either, this is kind of a netting. So I'm pretty certain it said PU and suede. I mean, check the video back from what I said earlier, but this is definitely not suede. It's like more of a, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's got that sort of abrasive feel to it. Very breathable, but certainly not plush like a suede or an Alcantara, for example. But anyway, it feels very hard wearing and very good quality, but yeah, certainly not suede. Obviously, Next Level Racing logo embossed there, nice white stitching. I am a fan of black and white things, hence the front room. So I do like this seat. I like the pattern as we come down the middle here. The bolsters on the uprights are fairly firm, whereas I did notice these ones here got a little bit more squish in them. I might be slightly concerned about these deforming over time. If you're a bit of a big boy and you like to slide in and out, I think I'd pay extra care when stepping in and out to avoid squashing those too much. We've all seen cars with warm bolsters. But I've had a quick sit in it and it's sort of medium firm, I would describe it as, and there's plenty of length front to back and plenty of width as well. I often find myself a bit squished in racing seats with bolsters, but not the case in this one. And then of course, one grab handle here, which I always laugh about it saying do not touch, because that's literally what it's for. And then as we come around the side, there is of course another one, and it is a dual-handed operation to recline the seat. You do need to pull both. Then of course at the front, the grab handle to slide it backwards and forwards, and you can see a butt kicker mount just poking down there as well. But yeah, as I mentioned, this is with the side mounts on that you could also use on a bucket seat if you wanted to. So we've got extra adjustment here over and above what you'd normally have from a height point of view. And we have got, there is already noticeably less flex in this seat than what one with a single recliner mechanism would have. And that's expected because there's two. So it's locked in from both sides. We don't have a shifter mount with this. That's part of the Lite offering and the reduced price, obviously optional extra. As far as the wheel deck goes, pre-drilled for all the regular brands. Here's our little magnetic spirit level for setting things up. This isn't, set up yet because I haven't put anything on it. But if we look underneath here, there's a couple of bolts, one there and the same this side to allow you to adjust the angle and the up and down. And again, your incremental marks to make sure, along with your spirit level, that everything is parallel. Again, manufacturers using angled aluminium profile just to make things look a little less industrial, a little more aesthetically pleasing, and it does. Interestingly, this and the bigger brother are the only two aluminium profile cockpits I've assembled that don't use a single corner bracket. Not one, anywhere. If you're familiar with Valley Profile, you're used to using corner brackets. There's not one anywhere on this entire build, and like I say, not on the Elite either from my memory. So carry on down here. Here, slacken them off. We can go up and down, again, increments there. The pedal tray or deck then pivots on this bolt here to give us our angle adjustment, and through these slots in these upright fins here. As you can see, there's a bolt there. The sort of deck itself, as I mentioned earlier, they slide independently, so you've got all the adjustment in the world for whatever pedals you want to fit to that. You can go all the way down for like a GT position, and you can of course come all the way up for a Formula position. This is kind of in the middle, what you might call hybrid. Now, the only thing I will say about this, just like with the non-Lite version, is that changing positions is not done quickly. As you may have noticed, looking at this in close-up, there are no thumb screws, there are no quick releases. Every single adjustment requires you to undo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, at least 10 bolts just to adjust the angle of the wheel deck, pedal deck, sorry. You may even then need to slide it further forwards or backwards, which will mean undoing another 8, depending how extreme you're going. And the same, of course, applies to adjusting the uprights. If you want to slide them forwards and backwards using these handy markers here, you've got 2 bolts there, 2 bolts there, that's 4, and then a 4 on the other side, in conjunction with all the ones I just mentioned here. I mean, you've got your toolkit there, so it's not like you can't do it, but certainly not the quickest. I think from memory, it takes about 20 minutes or so to make the full adjustment from, GT to Formula. So you kind of set it and forget it, and then maybe at some point in the future you might want to change around, you can. But there's a close-up look around. There's all the adjustments you have available. So the next thing for me to do is install some sim racing gear on it, and give it a try, see how much flex and wobble we get. I mean, the design is much like the bigger brothers one, so I don't expect to get hardly any at all, really. They've only sort of downscaled the profile. First things first, let's get up the footage of my usual flex test, first of all for the wheel deck here itself. And much as I expected, there is no noticeable flex that I could discern. And as you can see in the clip, I was giving it far more force than you would ever do in a real race scenario. This is a very solid cockpit, pretty much what I expected from its construction. You know, we've got the big plates down the bottom here that I always talk about that connect the uprights to the side sections, that stop the side-to-side flex in conjunction with, you know, this big, thick carbon steel plate that goes across the top here, again, with all 90-degree angles in the right places, bolted on appropriately. It's going to be solid, so no issues with that whatsoever. The pedal tray, I haven't seen the footage yet, but as far as I could tell, underfoot, there wasn't any flex there either. Again, I didn't expect there to be. I don't remember there being any in the non-Lite version, and this is the same pedal tray setup, so that was rock solid. Just bear in mind with this footage, we are on carpet, and if I push down at that end of the rig, it will sink into the carpet, so don't confuse the whole rig moving up and down, if you can see that in that footage a minute ago, versus the pedal tray itself, or pedal tray assembly itself moving. I don't think there was any flex there. And again, this is a Lite version, so it's not the full-priced, full-size Big Brother. If there was a little bit of flex, that would be acceptable because it's priced and built accordingly. So that's both fine. Obviously, we've got no shift amount here with this one to speak about as far as flex goes. I'm going to put some footage of me just using it up now so you can see from the side, you know, what it generally looks like. Now, as far as the adjustment goes, just like with the non-Lite version, it takes about 20-25 minutes to swap from one position to another. It's still not a quick and easy solution for changing from GT to Formula. The GT Amiga hybrid definitely still has the crown for that. It takes less than 20 seconds to swap over, and the cockpit is pretty damn solid considering it's able to do that. This is more solid, but just like its bigger brother, it's something you won't be changing between races when you fancy a quick blast in a Formula One car versus a GT car. It's something that you might buy maybe if you're like, I'm going to get into Formula for the next 6 months, it's the season or whatever, I don't know. And then maybe I'm going to get into my GT or my rally or my tank, whatever it is. And you know you're going to make a change and leave it that way for some time. Or, I know they mentioned on their website, if this is used in an esports setup, then the ability to take it to a location, set it up for the type of event that's going on, is obviously very, very useful because it will quite happily do all the aforementioned driving positions and they're all solid because even when you adjust it, nothing changes about the way it functions, so it's still just as solid. As I say, if it didn't take 20 or 25 minutes to switch, I would show you how to do it, but I showed you that close up earlier. There's 10 or 12 bolts you need to undo, and it's a big faff. It's just not something you would do day to day. But in an esports scenario, where you're setting up a venue for an event, not a big deal because you've got to set up a whole event anyway. One thing I will say is in the footage that may still be up now or that you saw a second ago of me just generally driving, I could actually have done with, I was a little bit close to the steering wheel. I couldn't slide my seat back any further because then I would have struggled to reach the pedals, and it was just too much hassle to adjust everything at the front end to bring the pedals closer to me. For the way they're bolted in now, there was no quick adjustment to bring them further this way. So I just kind of made do have been a little bit closer than I needed to, but it was only for, you know, video illustration purposes. Anyway, so my final thoughts really, this ERS4, I keep wanting to say it wrong, ERS4 seat is definitely very comfortable, very breathable. Again, there's no suede that I've noticed anywhere, and I'm pretty certain that's what I read out earlier. And The different adjustment mechanisms by using the side mounts definitely adds a little bit of uniqueness to it, as does this, and I should demonstrate this, the double adjusters for the reclining functionality. What's funny is because there's literally like left and right hand mechanisms, there's 2 springs. So when I put it up like this, it's actually quite a violent rise. So you have to make sure your weight's on it when you adjust it, because otherwise that can be quite painful. But, well, not quite painful, but you know what I mean. But yes, having one either side definitely reduces the flex. There is still, oh, it wasn't locked in. I can't tell, is there any? I can't really feel any movement. I mean, seats flex a little bit anyway, but I can't feel any movement like in the mechanism. So it's definitely an improvement over a single mechanism seat, like 100%, because the opposing side is now also locked in place. So you don't get that sort of twist that you would like otherwise potentially under hard braking. So that is a plus. It's just novel that they've literally gone, we'll get one of these and we'll stick one on the other side. So now it's two-handed operation for bringing your seat up and down. But it works just fine, and there is less movement there than there would be on a seat without it. Like I say again, we've still got our forward and backward on here. And if you were to, it's funny because if you were to actually tilt this, let's say you were to go formula position, put it in the back right down and the front right up. I should have done this on for camera really, and then use this, you'll actually be going up and down, like perhaps not 45 degrees, but you know what I mean. It would be quite an amusing angle of adjustment to play around with. But yeah, I mean, I can't really fault the drivability and rigidity and adjustability of the cockpit, but it's just not a quick change to go from one position to another. So, as I briefly mentioned earlier, there will be a discounted link for US buyers in the description. Us here in the UK and Europe, if I can find an Amazon link, I'll throw one up for you there. Sadly, I don't have obviously a discount through Amazon, but that's just the way Next Level Racing run. They ship directly from the US, so they can offer discounts via people like myself, whereas if buy it in the UK, they can't do it, or at least not easily. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.